Hello, Barclay Quatermain here for another video, and well, thank you for watching, and I'm hoping I'll be getting a little bit better at making these videos as I go along. And as you know, what I'm doing is just putting up my adventures as I transition from 20 years living abroad to coming back and returning to the UK. Just putting together a few videos about my experiences and what I find when I get there. As somebody commented, actually, it's awesome news that I'm returning to the UK, so thanks a lot to that person for pointing that out. But today I wanted to share some experience of mine, and we're on the subject of the people that you work with. And one thing that I have discovered, I'm sure a lot of other people have discovered it as well, some people maybe not, but the people that you work with are not your friends. The company that you work for is not your family. No matter what they might say, no matter how some people may behave, nobody in your workplace is your friend. The company that you work for is not your family. So I've been over here, I'm in Egypt at the moment. I've been over here 20 years and I've worked for two companies. And the first company that I worked for 16 years, they did describe themselves as the family, the name of the company, family. But of course that was no family. No business, no employer is a family. They can and they will replace you quickly and easily whenever they want. So I'd been with my first company for 16 years, and 16 years is a long time to be working anywhere. And I was doing pretty well. I got myself into a management position, and well, then I'll tell you what happened. Something happened in my, well, I suppose you could say my private life. One, I don't know, I want to say it was night time. Well, early night time. It was dark anyway. So one night time, I happened to go to the bank, the ATM machine. I went to the bank and I made a withdrawal from the bank machine. And I'm guessing that somebody must have been watching me because of what happened next. Now, at that point, I had two choices of how I could return home. I could either walk through all the streets, the actual proper streets, which would take a little bit longer, or I could, if I wanted to, just cut across a fairly large patch of wasteland, which would take me pretty much directly to the back of where I lived. And this patch of wasteland, completely empty, nobody there, no lighting, completely dark. And what happened? Well, I was approached by a young man carrying a weapon, and I think the first mistake I made, or the big mistake I made actually in this situation, was trying to, how can I put this, get involved physically with him, to engage physically with that young man who came at me from the front. There was also somebody behind him. I saw two people. One of them had a weapon, and he was close to me. He was the one that I physically engaged with. And there was another one a little bit further back that I could see. So I could see two of them. But, of course, I suppose because I'd never been in that situation before, I didn't realize that there was one of them behind me. And the one who was behind me actually hit me over the head with something, and some other kind of weapon, and I was knocked out. And of course they robbed me. They took the money that I just got from the bank, mobile phone, and so on. And also, for some reason, known only to them, while I was lying unconscious on the floor, knocked out, they must have either been kicking me or beating me with some kind of other weapon, and they also slashed at me with a blade while I was actually on the floor, passed out. I have no idea why they did that. That's what they wanted to do. Anyway, I came round, of course. I don't know how long I was knocked out for, but I remember coming round, and the first thing I'm thinking was, the first thought that came to me was that they've gone. That was the very first thing that I thought of. And then, It's a funny thing about being injured, isn't it? If you don't know actually how injured you are, then, you know, until you know how injured you are, you can actually to some extent behave normally. So I didn't know how injured I was. I was actually completely covered in blood. But I managed to walk home. And then, of course, I had to go to the hospital and so on. I actually had an extremely severe head injury. And if you're particularly squeamish, then you might want to pause this part of the video and fast forward. I actually had basically holes in the skin of my head, which were so deep that you could see all the way down to the skull. So I really did have a very serious head injury after I was attacked by those three people, at least three of them. Maybe there were more, I don't know, but I am certainly aware that there were three of them. And, well, let's see what happened next when the company that I worked for actually started to get involved with this. Well, they met with me, of course, and they had the idea that I had been, you know, deliberately targeted, which is probably true to some extent because I expect those young men did follow me from where I was at the bank machine, so to that extent I was deliberately targeted. And it should be worth saying, I suppose, that I live in Egypt and, you know, physically I suppose I'm fairly noticeable when I'm going about outside. And yeah, so the chances are I was to some extent deliberately targeted. And my employers, when they met with me about this matter, they basically said, if you have been deliberately targeted, then this might happen again. And because I was nearly killed the first time, the doctor in the hospital said that I was nearly killed. I didn't mention that, did I? But yeah, when I was in hospital, the doctor did actually say I was nearly killed. I had to have all sorts of stitches in my head, and the head injury didn't turn out too well in the end, but I'll come to that later. And so my employers said to me, if you have been deliberately targeted and you were nearly killed, well, if they come after you again, then next time you might be killed. Okay, but the way that they framed it was, and they actually said this to me, they actually said, I can't remember the exact words, I wish I could, but it was words to the effect that if you are killed, then it's not going to look good for us. Which is fine, right? It's fine for them to think that, yeah, but don't say it to me, right? If you're speaking to me, then at least pretend to be actually concerned for my health and my welfare, right? You can talk amongst yourselves in private about how it's going to affect you if I get murdered, but you know, don't say it to me. But the upshot of that is that they were very insistent that I actually move away from the area where I was living. And they basically said to me, you've got two choices. You move away from the area where you're living, or you find another job. So 16 years then with the company, and you know, with the company that calls itself the family, and speak to the employees of the company as if they are, you know, address them as if they are family members. I have this amount of difficulty, which is no fault of mine, and then it's, yeah, you move house or you're looking for another job. Well, at the time, moving house was not really an option for me because the injury that I had on my head just simply did not heal up. It just would not heal up. And I was told by another doctor, because I went to a different doctor when it didn't heal up, that I may have to have an operation, you know, the kind of operation where you take skin from one part of your body and you move it to another part of your body. Is that called a skin graft? I think it is, I'm not sure though. And this doctor was saying that I may well have to have that kind of operation. So in that kind of situation, I'm not really going to think, okay, here's what I'm doing next. I'm going to move myself to another district, away from the hospital, away from the pharmacies, and I'm going to spend, I don't know how long it takes putting everything in the house into boxes. Not going to happen. Also, I didn't want to what's the word I'm looking for, create upheaval for the daughter because she had her friends around her and that would have been a traumatic experience for her. So moving to another district for me really was not an option. So what did I do about that? I just kind of kept quiet about it and kind of thought, well, maybe this whole thing's going to blow over. Let's see what happens. But the thing didn't blow over. And basically I was called into another meeting. And the upshot of that was, you're still living in the same place, you haven't moved house, so it's thank you and goodbye. So there you go, 16 years with a company that calls itself a family, no fault of my own, right? What did I do wrong? I walked home in a silly way across the wasteland, but I didn't know it was going to be attacked, did I? If I had, I would have gone the other way. That's the only mistake I made. 16 years, what did I do? I can't see that I did much wrong, and I get treated like that. But as it happens, I do think that I made exactly the right decision, because I did find another job, and was the other job a better position? Was it better paid? No, not particularly, but it was another job, and I managed to continue with the lifestyle that I had, and I really do wonder if I had said yes at that time, if they had said, okay, we're going to say you move house or you leave, if I had actually moved house and done what they said, I wonder what would have happened next. If there had been any other kind of situation, what would they have said next? What would they have asked me to do next? Well, I don't know, I'll never know. But I'm really not very comfortable with my employer having that amount of control over my life, basically telling me where to live. No, it doesn't sit too well with me. Well, I'm not going to say it wasn't a traumatic experience. The experience of, first of all, having this awful head injury that just wouldn't heal up and having to get up at, 5 o'clock in the morning and comb all the blood and pus out of my hair because my head had been bleeding during the night. Sorry if you're a squeamish person, I should have given a warning for that bit, shouldn't I? And the whole thing was a little bit depressing for me, having to lose my job after 16 years, and that all got me down. But here's the thing, here I am at the other end of it, joined another company, another 4 years, and well, like I said, I'm still believing that I made exactly the right decision. I am very happy that I did not let my original company treat me like that and basically tell me what to do like that. They're not a family. They're not your friend. That's the way that they will treat you. Yeah, never mind how much loyalty you might have put into your job over how many years. Yeah, if it comes to potentially anything being a problem for them, they will replace you. They will not care. Anyway, as you know, I'm in another kind of transitional phase right now because I'm coming to the end of this job, and we've got to move back over there, I think, to give my daughter the opportunities that she needs in life. She's not going to get those over here, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be nobody looking after me. I'm going to be looking after myself, making opportunities for myself, and well, I'll see what happens. If you're watching this, well, you can watch what happens. Thank you very much for being interested. And as you might know from the other videos, I'm moving into Derby, so if you are from Derby, then please go ahead and give me some advice about things I might want to get involved with. And also, if you've had any experiences a bit like mine with an employer, you had a difficult experience, you thought you were loyal to your company, but you found out, in fact, it was quite the opposite. They were not very loyal to you, then why not share those with us in the comments? Definitely something I'm going to take with me into future jobs. This is pure and simply a business transaction. Your relationship with your employer is purely and simply a business transaction. No family, no friends, nothing like that. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you are interested in what I'm doing, if you are interested in watching my progress as I transition back to the UK, then please do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I'll be back with the next installment.